Now 26, 27 students are already in. So we will start what we had discussed yesterday. So yesterday we had discussed four very important committee which were constituted by the government of India to look into if any suggestions are there to improve corporate governance in India. That we had discussed yesterday, four committees that we have discussed. First committee was constituted under Kumar Mangalam Birla. Second committee was Naresh Chandra committee. Third was Narayan Murthy committee, and the fourth one was JJ Irani committee. So these four committees we had discussed. We had also discussed that for constituting each committee, there was a basic idea or basic objective behind that particular constitution of committee. For example, the first committee, the committee of Kumar Mangalam Birla, it was set up by the government uh, to suggest so that the government can suggest the so that the committee can suggest the government if any suggestions can be implemented for improving the corporate governance in the Indian organization. So that particular committee came up with code of corporate governance. That was the basic objective, that it should develop a code of governance which can be implemented in the other companies of the country. Second committee was Naresh Chandra committee. The basic objective of Naresh Chandra committee that it should come up with some suggestions which can make which can control the financial irregularities which were happening in the organizations. So the company, the Naresh Chandra committee came up with suggestion that auditors should be given enough power and authority to complete their task, to complete their job. So that was the basic objective of Naresh Chandra committee, that more powers should be given to internal auditors of the company which are appointed by the company and the external auditor which are in touch with the company. Now the third committee was headed by Narayan Murthy. The objective of setting up this committee was that if there can be any model code of corporate governance which fits for each and every organization which is working in the country. So the committee suggested the government that it is very difficult to come up with a common code of corporate governance or a common model of corporate governance which can be implemented in each and every organization in the country. So what it said is that as the technology is changing, as the business environment is changing, as the business practices and policies are changing, so the corporate governance should also evolve with time. The companies which are following the code of corporate governance, they should not restrict themselves to just following the rules mentioned under the code or mentioned under the corporate law, but they should also try to go beyond that. So that was the third committee, which was called as Narayan Murthy committee. The fourth committee was JJ Irani committee, and JJ Irani committee's the main objective behind setting the JJ Irani committee was that the committee should suggest how more transparency can be implemented by the organization. So the company suggested that the power of independent directors should be increased, as well as the number of independent directors which were there on the board of directors of a particular company should also be increased. So earlier, when Naresh Chandra committee was appointed, they suggested that 50% of the board of directors should be independent directors. Whereas in 2005, when JJ Irani committee was constituted to come up with suggestions to increase the transparency of business in Indian organization, they suggested that instead of 50%, it should be two-thirds of the total number of board members should be independent board members. Independent directors means, yesterday also we had discussed, that those directors which who are not having direct financial stake in that particular organizations and who are on the board only because of their experience and expertise in that particular field in which the organization is doing business. So it was increased. The number of independent directors were increased from 50% to, if we talk about two-third majority, then it comes to roughly around 67%. So 67% of the total number of directors on the board of directors of an organization should be independent directors. So that we had discussed yesterday. Today, we will be starting with the role of corporate governance. If you have any query, please you can ask me related to these four committees, because these are very important committee, and the basis of corporate governance in India is based on the recommendation of these committees itself. If you have any query, you can ask me, or we will move on to the next topic, which is called as role of corporate governance. Now, the role of an effective corporate governance is to immense significance to the society as a whole. We can summarize the role of corporate governance under the following points. Point one can be: corporate governance ensures efficient use of resources. So it is very simple. If good corporate governance is there, policies are transparent, everyone knows his rights and responsibilities as well as the authorities, then what will happen? There will be less chances of chaos in the organization or miscommunication in the organization. And the resources of the organization, not only the material resources, but also the resources which we can say manpower resources, all these resources can be used in an efficient manner. Now, second and very important point, which talks about role of corporate governance, is it provides corporate governance provides choosing the best managers to administer scarce resources. If good governance is involved in an organization, what will happen? There will be no partiality done by the board of directors when they will be hiring the services of top managers for the organization. Otherwise, what will happen if a person is closer to, say, one of the most influential director in the board, he will definitely try to hire that particular person irrespective of his expertise in that particular field. But if good corporate governance practices are implemented in the organization, the board will recruit the best possible candidate as the manager who will be managing the day-to-day affairs of the organization. Next is, it helps managers to remain focused on improving performance and making sure that they are replaced when they fail to do so. Now, this is again a very important role of good corporate governance, which says that the managers, if good corporate governance is there, then managers remain focused on their work. The reason behind is, there are two reasons. One reason is that there is total transparency. Everyone is aware of his role and responsibility. That is one reason. And the other reason behind this is why they are remaining focused is that they know if they are unable to achieve the goal or work as prescribed by the say board of directors, if they are not working properly, if they are not performing well as per the standards set by the organization, they will be replaced. They are not irreplaceable, because here only performance matters. The moment you stop performing for the organization, you should be aware that you will be replaced by some other person. So that was the another important role of corporate governance. Next important role is it pressurizes the organization to comply with laws, rule, regulations, and expectations of society. So good corporate governance, it pressures the or pressurizes the organization to comply with laws. Various laws are there which controls the functioning of an organization, which are mentioned in corporate law or in company law. So all the rules and regulation, all these laws are to be followed by the organization. Next role is that it assists the supervisor in regulating the entire economic sector without partiality and nepotism. Now, I hope that everyone knows what is nepotism. We can call in Hindi, it is called as Bhai Bhatijawad. Suppose if you have a very close relative who is occupying a top position in an organization, and if that particular gentleman appoints his relative as his in the organization without taking care whether the person is expert in that particular field or eligible for that particular job or not, that particular concept is called as nepotism. If good corporate governance is there, we can be rest assured that such type of nepotism will not happen, because the hiring rules, hiring policies, everything are transparent and they are known or approved by the board of governance. Next role is corporate governance leads to higher consumer satisfaction. It helps in increasing market share and sales for the organization. And it also reduces advertising and promotion costs. So it is accepted, it is a generally accepted concept that if good corporate governance is practiced in an organization, automatically the general public or the general society will have a very good image of that particular organization in their mind. If the general public is having a good image about that particular organization, automatically the general public will have for that particular organization. They will get attracted towards the product of that particular organization because they have a very good image of that particular organization. For example, if we have a good image about Tata group of companies, so what will happen? That suppose if we want to buy something, and if that product is there which is manufactured by Tata company also and other companies also, generally what will happen, we will get attracted towards the product of Tata company. Why? Because we have a image set in our brain that this company is very good. If the company is doing good for the society, then we will assume that whatever product the company will be manufacturing will be of best quality. So if such thing happens, the company concentrates less on advertising and it reduces the promotion cost of the company also. Next rule is that employees are more satisfied in the organization which have good corporate governance policies. And it is believed that if an employee is satisfied or an employee is happy, then he will definitely create a happy customer. That is a very old saying which says, happy employee attracts happy customer. So if a person is not happy with himself or his job or not satisfied with his job, then it will be very difficult for the person to create a happy or satisfied customer. But when a person is happy, he will try hard to give everything to the customer to make the customer happy or satisfied. So these are the certain rules of corporate governance which we have just discussed. Now we will take up with the scope of corporate governance. Scope was remaining, so we will discuss about the scope of corporate governance also. That what is the scope of corporate governance? Scope of corporate governance is related to, first it is related to preparation of company's financial statement. So from day first, our first lecture, we have been discussing that the main focus of corporate governance is that it should be able to make the business transaction of a organization more and more transparent, particularly with respect to financial statements or financial disclosures. So the first point when we talk about scope of corporate governance is related to preparation of company's financial statement. So we can say that financial disclosures are very important and critical component of corporate governance. So the company should implement such procedures which can verify and safeguard the integrity of company's financial reporting. So there should be no doubt in the mind of shareholders when the company's financial statements are published. There should be no doubt that there can be any irregularity in these statements. So disclosure of material concerning the organization should be timely and it should be balanced to ensure that all investors have easy access to clear and correct factual information mentioned in the financial statements released by the organization. So that is the first point under scope, preparation of company's financial statement. So utmost care should be taken by the organization when it is preparing the financial statements. The auditors should not be under the pressure of the board or the management of the organization, and they should be given a free hand to prepare the financial statements for that particular organization. Next scope is that internal control and independence of the internal auditors. Now, internal control should be there. Internal control lies with the management, which is regulating the practices or which is overseeing the day-to-day practices or day-to-day business of that particular organization. So, and independence of auditors. So just now we had discussed that auditors should be given independence. The auditors, although they are appointed by the organization, but they should be given independence, that as per law, as per rule, as per the accounting procedures, they should continue with their work. They should not be, say, forced or caused by the managers to prepare a balance sheet which favors their interest, the company's interest, and which which overlooks the actual financial position of the company. So that should not happen. Next is review the compensation arrangement of chief executive and senior executive. Now, when we study the scope of corporate governance, this is one of the most important point which is covered under the scope of corporate governance is review of compensation arrangement. It talks about not only fixing of compensation arrangement of chief executive officer and other senior executives, but it also talks about review of that compensation packages. It should not happen that in an interview the board members are very much impressed by a candidate and they appoint the candidate as the chief executive officer of the organization, and they give him a handsome package, a very attractive package because of his performance in that particular interview, and the board member think that he will be doing very good for the organization. So on that particular, because of his performance in that particular interview, his package is finalized, which is very attractive. Now, it should not happen that this package, which is finalized because of his good performance in a particular interview, will remain this only or will remain as it is after a long time also. So there will be no review in checking his performance. So this thing is not there. It when we talk about scope, it also says not only fixing but reviewing. The board members can review the performance of the chief executive or the managing director or the general manager who is being the head of that particular organization, whether he is performing well for the organization or he is not performing well. If he is performing well for the organization, they can think of increasing his incentives or benefits or his package. And if they come to know, if the board come to know that the person who is heading the organization is not performing well for the organization, then definitely his compensation arrangements can be reviewed. Not only it can be reviewed, but it can they can also review whether the person should continue in the organization or the person should be replaced by some other good candidate. Now, next point which we can include in the scope of corporate governance is related to the way in which individuals are nominated for the position in the board. When we talk about good corporate governance, it says that everything should be transparent. When we say everything should be transparent, we are talking about not only transparency at the lower level or at the middle level, but we are also talking about transparency at the topmost level. How a director can be included in the board, it should be stated in the code of corporate governance. It should be there in the rules and regulation or policies of the government, that these are the criteria. A candidate who fulfills these criteria can be inducted in the board of director as a director. So that should be fixed. Then how independent directors are nominated, that again has to be documented. So the way in which individuals are nominated to the position of director on board should be documented in the policy of the organization. Now, the next important point under scope of the corporate governance is that the resources made available to directors in carrying out their duties. So okay, everything is transparent, everything is documented, the policies are very clear, the policies which are very transparent and very easy to understand are communicated right from top to the bottom of the organization. So everything is clear. But what will happen if the people who are entrusted with the running of the day-to-day functioning of an organization, if they are not given the resources to carry out their duties? Resources, when we are talking about resources, we are talking about the four M's which we have discussed which you might have studied in operations management also, or human resource management also. Four M's are men, money, material, and machine. So these four M's are very essential for the growth or for the working of an organization. So everything is transparent and everything is as per the law. But if these four M's are not provided to the chief executive officer who is looking after the organization, then what will happen? We cannot expect good results from the person who is heading the organization, because he is lacking in the resources to carry out the functioning of the organization. So the resources should be made available to the directors who are carrying out their duties for the organization. Next point in the scope is that the scope of corporate governance includes oversight and management of risk. Now, when we talk about oversight, we can say that the organization or the board members should have a vision that what will happen in future. They should be able to see the oversight or see the future, that in near future, technology wise or business practices wise, what changes will be coming in near future and how they will be tackling those changes. If any risk will be there in near future, how they will be tackling that particular risk. So that these 5 6 points are included in the scope of corporate governance. Well, so this is related to the role and the scope of corporate governance. Now, so far, if you have any query, you can ask me about that query. Or otherwise, we will move to the theory part, which I had uh, forwarded you image also, that we will be discussing tomorrow a particular theory, two theories. One is called as shareholder or agency theory, and the other one is called as stewardship theory, that we will be discussing. So far, if you have any query, you can come up with that query. We will resolve that query, and then we will move to the other part, which is the agencies. Two types of agencies we will be discussing now in corporate governance. One theory is called as agency theory, or it is also called as shareholders theory. The other theory is called as stewardship theory. Yes, if you have any query, please ask me. We can discuss that query, or we will move to the next part, which is called as the theory. Yes, so no query?
Hello.
Sure, very good. Yes, Prasad sir. Hello,
Hello.
Prasad sir, you want to ask him? Yes, sir.
Sir, attendance बाकी है कुछ स्टूडेंट का.
Okay.
Yes.
So again, I'll request everyone that in chat box we have shared a link related to attendance. Click on the link and fill the information asked. Once you submit, your attendance automatically gets recorded. So we will be recording your attendance in two formats. One in that particular format, which is available in the chat box, and the other one is in the form of your screenshots, right? So please click on the link which is available in the chat box and fill the form so that your attendance is recorded. So every time in every lectures, you will be shared a link towards the end of the lecture. Prasad sir will be sharing a link. What you have to do is you have to just open your chat box, click on that particular link, fill the required information and do submission. Once you submit, it automatically gets recorded. Yes. Yes, if you have any query, so no query, you can unmute yourself and you can ask query. So no query. Today's strength is better. Today, I think 45 or 47 students are present. Very good. Very good. Maybe a result of, maybe why the number is more. Can we say that it is related to result which was declared yesterday? Okay,
Good
everyone is
morning.
concentrating. Good morning, sir.
So the
Sir, I
results
just
are
put just a query on chat box, sir, actually, because I am in bus, so you will be not able to hear me properly. Just a
Okay.
objective of the corporate governance in brief, sir. Just repeat.
Objective of corporate governance.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so objective, basic objective of corporate. You are asking about the committees which we had discussed, or
No, sir.
the objective
Committees
of
is
corporate?
already, objectives.
The basic objective of corporate governance is that the policies of the organizations which are prepared at the top level, which are prepared by the board of directors, these policies should be transparent and these policies should be communicated from the top to the bottom of the organization. Now, these policies should be related to finance and non-financial aspect of business. When we talk about financial policies, we are talking about that how and when the disclosure, financial disclosure will take place in the organization, how it will be communicated to the organization, and whether the organization is communicating this financial disclosure in such a manner which is easily understood and easily accessible by not only the common, say, employees of the organization, but also the common shareholders of the organization. So, first objective of the uh, corporate governance is that free and easy communication should be there. Second objective is that there has to be transparency in each and every affair of the organization. Everything should be transparent. So it should not happen that when we talk about transparent means that the policies which are prepared, that should be followed in total for by the organization in each and every aspect of the working by the organization. When we talk about, say, the promotional policy, so how the promotion will take place in an organization, the policy is there in the organization, but the policy, if it is not followed totally, then we cannot say that it is good corporate governance. Good corporate governance means that policies should be easy to understand and it should be communicated, plus it should be transparent. There has to be transparency. Transparency will take place only when the policies are implemented in total. Suppose the promotion is based on merit, and if the person is performing well in the organization, and if that particular person is getting promoted in the organization, we can say that the organization is implementing transparent policies, or there is transparency. So basic objective is that the free and easy communication should be there and transparency should be there. If these two things are there, then we can say that the organization can have good corporate governance. So these are the basic two objectives. Rest are all secondary objectives which are related to transparency and which are related to free communication. Yes. Anything else? Yes, anyone, if you have any doubt, last 3 4 minutes are remaining, uh, or we can just start with her, uh, or I don't think that we will be able to uh, complete that part related to the two theories, which is called as shareholder or agency theory, and the other one is stewardship theory. Yes, if you have any query, please ask. You can ask me any question related to this. Okay, so no query. So we will start with that particular theory. Now there are two theories. One is shareholder and agency theory. First, we will take up the agency theory. Now, agency theory says, or shareholder theory, it is related to the shares or the role of shareholder in the organization. The basic idea of agency theory, it says that the shareholders are the real owners of the organization. It is the shareholders which are generating capital for the organization, and the organization should see to it that their hard earned money is used properly in the organization. That means whenever the organization is doing any business, or whenever they are uh, say managing their business in the organization, they should always remember that they are using the money of shareholders, and they should utilize that money in the best possible manner. That was the main ideology of agency theory. But later on, Adam Smith, who was a psychologist, he came up with a point that although the theory thinks that the money belongs to the shareholder, and it is the reality also that money belongs to shareholder, but when it comes to utilizing that money for the benefit of the organization, we cannot expect that the managers who are utilizing that money will be utilizing that money in the same manner which the shareholder would have utilized. That means shareholder, as it the money belongs to shareholder, he would have utilized that particular money by taking utmost care. Now